What's good, YouTube? Quinn Wade basketball analysis here, coming to you with a quick video. This is just one of the hottest topics going around the NBA, and it's about Kawhi Leonard not being able to play, being medically cleared to play, and still refusing to play. Not only that, they saying that Kawhi Leonard might not stay a Spur, that they might trade Kawhi Leonard, um, that he doesn't want to play for San Antonio. And then you look at San Antonio, they've been in the top three all season. They've shown that they can compete. They've shown that they're good enough to beat the bad teams. They're still good enough to win. Greg Popovich showing his excellent coaching. But honestly, this job has put a lot of pressure on Greg Popovich because coming off last year, they went to the Western Conference Finals. Obviously, David Lee was out. They lost Tony Parker. Kawhi Leonard went out that game. And honestly, Greg Popovich had a lot of pressure going into this season. Well, they only lost because Kawhi Leonard was down. They only lost because Kawhi Leonard got injured. They only lost because Zaza Pachulia took him out the game. And they might have won that series. And I believe if San Antonio beat Golden State, I think they would have beat Cleveland. Is it guaranteed? No, but that's just my opinion that whoever won that Golden State San Antonio series, and I said that before the series even happened. I told you guys that San Antonio versus Golden State series is the only series that really matter because whoever come out the West between those two is going to be able to beat Cleveland. And Cleveland came out the East, and Golden State ended up beating San Antonio, and they won the thing in 5. And I was saying that at the beginning of the season, before they even played the game, that San Antonio Golden State was going to decide the championship, and it ended up happening. But at the end of the day, I don't think that it is as serious as people think. I'm not saying that Kawhi Leonard is going to be a long-term Spur, that he's going to be like Tim Duncan and David Robertson, just playing all these years with the Spurs and then they retire. And Tim Duncan obviously retired, only playing for the Spurs. I don't think that's going to be Kawhi Leonard's career. If he can do that, it'd be highly impressive, and he's worthy of the throne. Even though they beat Houston without him, they showed that this year that they can win games without Kawhi Leonard. But honestly, let's be real with ourselves. The same thing about John Wall, and to put that in there too, is that we don't really care that the San Antonio Spurs is the third seed because at the end of the day, the whole purpose of making it to the playoffs is to have a chance to win the championship. And we know they have zero shot, and they proved that against Golden State last year. They don't have Tony Parker. They don't have Kawhi Leonard. They're not winning the ring. And that's the whole thing that you have to realize that, oh, John Wall, Bradley Beal and them, they're doing well. They're moving the ball better. It's easier when people don't know what to do. And I'm not taking credit away from the teams and the players. But once you lose a player, your whole play style is different. The coaches have to readjust, readapt to what they're seeing. You running different plays, you running different things because your other players are out. So you get people caught by surprise. I said the same thing about Portland a couple years ago. A lot of teams got caught by surprise of how good C.J. McCollum and Damian Lillard gelled together after losing Aldridge and Wes Matthews, that it helped them be in the playoffs quicker because everybody didn't know the plays and the adjustments. It was just playing a new team. And like I said, even last year they had added Nurkic, and Nurkic was new. So you didn't really know how to adjust to him. And then they didn't even play him that much in the playoffs because he broke his leg. So coming into this year is like a whole different Portland team because Nurk is playing full time in all the starting minutes. So it's like playing against a new team that you never played against before. And that's what happened then. And that's what's happening with Washington. You don't know what to really expect going into the game because John Wall is not there. Your number one goal when you go against the Wizards is to game plan. How is we going to stop Bradley Beal? How is we going to stop John Wall? How's we going to neutralize them as much as we can have a good chance of winning? Without John Wall there, they have a whole different play style and a whole different approach, which can catch people off guard. And that's what's been happening with the Spurs. The Spurs have been punishing the weaker teams. They have been punishing the teams that they should beat. and that's why they were 10 games above 500. They're winning the games that they should win, even though they lose a couple of them, but they're winning the games that they should win, and that's turning into W's, and that's going to help them make the playoffs. But we all know, and we all honest about it. That's all I'll be honest about it. Without Kawhi Leonard, they're not going to win the ring. Without Kawhi Leonard, they're not even contenders. They might be the third seed. They might be 10 games above 500. But just imagine if we had a healthy Kawhi Leonard this year going along with this team who won over 60 games the last couple seasons. And on top of that, Kawhi Leonard averaged 25 on 48% from the field and 38% from three. And he had 3.5 assists and 6 rebounds and 1.8 steals. Those numbers, you can never make that up, especially when you combine the fact that he's a defensive nightmare, a guy that can lock down any player and make their job difficult, make their job tough. And this is including LeBron. This is including KD. This is including Russell Westbrook. He has had good games and good defensive games against everybody. And his ability to slow down and neutralize the players, there is no value. There's not one person on the Spurs that can do what Kawhi Leonard does defensively on a nightly basis and what he can do defensively in playoff series. And you can't replace that. But at the same time, I'm not surprised that they're winning because Greg Popovich is one of the top 4 coaches of all time. He knows what he's doing. He knows the lineups. He knows what he's trying to accomplish with the certain teams. I mean, the lineups on the floor. And he makes the proper adjustments in games, in halves, in quarters to have a good shot at being able to win the game at the end of the day. And that's what kept them afloat. But nobody is saying that San Antonio is a contender. Want to know why? Because Kawhi Leonard is gone. Nobody's saying the Wizards are contenders. Why? Because John Wall is gone. The casual fans might not, oh, they win, they this, they that, this. Everybody eats. But you're not going to win a championship without John Wall unless you trade him and can get somebody that can replace him. And what can you really get? Because Kawhi Leonard is on one of the best contracts in the NBA. You're playing one of the top 5, top 3 players in the world. $18 million. It's players that make more money than Kawhi Leonard. Even like it's a lot of players. I don't want to put them on blast, but it's a lot of players that's not even in the top 5, not even in the top 7 that makes 20 plus million. And I know that Kawhi Leonard, it was his free agency, his max was only 80 million. His max only can be 100 million because his years and how long he played in the NBA and how much he was worth at that time. And he did take a little bit of a pay cut. But you have one of the best bargains. You have a two-way monster that can shoot the three and create his own shot for himself and others. And he is clutch when he needs to be, as we seen in that Memphis series. When they really needed Kawhi Leonard, he stepped up continuously. And remember, they was even losing that game 6, and they was able to come back and close them out in 6. But they was losing that fourth quarter, and they was able to come back and win it in that fourth quarter and close the Memphis Grizzlies out. And they could have won game 7, and we don't know who would have won. But they was able to string together a little run and get the W and close the Grizzlies out by the end of the game. So we all know we all know how great San Antonio is. We all know how this team has changed. And what can you really do? The Spurs are a great team, a great organization that drafts the right players. They study the player, they scout them. Greg Popovich, I always tell that story that you see on 2K. Tony Parker said Greg Popovich is so hard on him that he used to cry at practice because that's as hard of a coach as Greg Popovich. And now Tony Parker is a Finals MVP, multiple-time All-Star, and a future Hall of Famer, and a multiple-time champion. But Greg Popovich was getting in him so much that he cried. That's how strong of a coach Greg Popovich is, and that's how strong of a staff that he has to develop these players and scout these players. They're all a team, and Greg Popovich is the head of that. And Kawhi Leonard, when he got drafted, we never thought that he'd be this efficient, this good of a shooter, this good of a free throw shooter coming into the league. And he has looked remarkable at this point that he is world-round renowned as the top 5 player. And what can they do? Like I was about to say, all they can do is rebuild. All they can do is draft. Remember, LaMarcus Aldridge is about to be a free agent next year. Kawhi Leonard, if they trade him, that they're going backwards. They want to stay competitive. They made the playoffs for 20 years plus straight, and this year is no different. You're not trying to become a rebuilding team. You're not trying to become a team that's trying to build through the draft. You want to compete for a championship as long as you can. And that's what the San Antonio Spurs have done. They have built a standard of excellence. They're not trying to be a team that's tanking, like Mark Cuban said. They're not trying to be a team that's trying to build through the draft. They not getting big name free agents. LaMarcus Aldridge was on the decline of his career, even though he still was one of the best players and still is. He was on the decline of his career when they got him. Kawhi Leonard is on the rise of his career. Trading Kawhi Leonard is taking a huge step backwards for where they're trying to go. And he made it to the finals twice with Kawhi Leonard, and Kawhi Leonard was the finals MVP in the next one the year after that they won. So he has potential to be the person after Duncan that can carry this franchise, not for 4 or 5 seasons, for 10 to 15 years, because he's still in his 20s. So that's the goal, is to build a championship team around Kawhi Leonard, since he already proved that he can carry a team in those finals where he had to step up the most and hit the shots and come up with the stops. He was able to do that consistently, and that helped him win a championship. So remember, they never put nobody. Nobody is bigger than a San Antonio. Kawhi Leonard is a quiet, cool guy. He's not a guy that asks for attention. He's not a guy that's always in the media. He's not a guy that's really trying to sell his brand and become a superstar. He could be, but we don't know. I don't see it. But San Antonio, to me, is the perfect place for a guy like Kawhi Leonard. They don't give you that much attention. You don't have the media. You don't have the cameras. You don't have the big market where every celebrity is there. And that's good for Kawhi, because that fits his personality. Where that fits him best, and that's why he should stay in San Antonio. I'm not saying that he will, but trading Kawhi Leonard, they still probably be in the playoffs, but they're not going to be in the championship hunt unless they get a very good package for him, and then they can rebuild the team on the fly, which is very difficult, especially when you gave Paul Gasol that money and you still owe LaMarcus Aldridge that money, and they're mediocre at this point right now. Their record is better than how they really are, but at the end of the day, I do want to see this team prosper. I do want to see them continue, because it's a beautiful thing to watch a team organization that's so focused on winning, that they've been able to do it for 20 straight years. And this is a year that Kawhi Leonard only played 9 games, and they're still 10 games above 500. They're still competing. They're still playing hard, and they still giving themselves a chance each and every night when it comes down to it. But just imagine if Kawhi Leonard was healthy. He was an MVP candidate for the last couple of years. That's something that you just can't replace, especially when you're not getting a player that can replace him at all. And not only that, he wasn't traded. He wasn't gone. He's just not playing at all. So it's hard to replace that void. But I feel like if he can come back, if he can play in the playoffs, which we don't know if he will, um, if he comes back and before the end of the season get a couple games under his belt, I think they can still compete with Golden State and give them a run. I'm not saying they're going to beat them, but they can be able to compete and give themselves a chance to dethrone them as the Western Conference champions. And we don't really know what's going to happen with OKC. We don't really know what's going to happen with Houston. And if you have Kawhi Leonard healthy, they right up there with those teams, obviously. But right now, if they don't have Kawhi Leonard, I don't even see them getting out of the second round. Maybe the first round, even though that's going to be tough, because you're probably going to play against OKC, or Minnesota, or they might drop down and be the 6th seed, which means you still play OKC or Minnesota, or one of those. Yeah, you basically going to play one of those teams regardless. So I think they can beat OKC in the 7-game series with Kawhi Leonard. Obviously, without him, it'll be tough. So let me know what you guys think. Do you think they should trade Kawhi Leonard? Do you think they should rebuild? Do you think they should give it up? Do you think they should blow it up? Do you think they should try to rebuild through the draft? Do you think they should try to trade him while he's still valuable and coveted around the league and try to get some pieces that they can build around? But like I said, LaMarcus Aldridge is not here for the long term. So at the end of the day, even if Kawhi Leonard wants to leave, you still have LaMarcus Aldridge, but you don't want to build around him because he's at the tail end of his career. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Check out my website, analysisplayground.com. Link will be in the description in the comment section below. Also check out my Facebook page, analysisplayground.com. Link will be in the description in the comment section below. Quinn Wade Basketball Analysis. I'm gone.